In this section, you will learn how to format output. It is often necessary to format output values in certain ways so that they can be presented properly. The Java standard class library contains classes that provide formatting capabilities. The number format class allows you to format values as currency or percentages. The decimal format class allows you to format values based on pattern. Both are part of the java.text package. So if you want to use these two classes, you must import java.text package. I will explain number format class first. The number format class has static methods that return format object. These two methods are such static methods. You have not learned static methods yet. I'll explain a very simple way. A static method can be used without creating an object. We can use these two methods without creating objects. Each formatter object has a method called format that returns a string with the specified information in the appropriate format. It sounds a little bit difficult right now, but if you look at the code, you can understand this explanation. getCurrency instance returns a currency format. With getCurrency instance, we can print the currency units of each country easily. First, I will explain how to use getCurrency instance method. If you invoke number format dot getCurrency instance, the method returns number format object. Here, this is a class name, so you must use class name. You don't have to make an object, just use class name. So number format dot getCurrency instance. Then number format object will return here, and NF will receive that object. And NF has a method named format. So this object dot format, and inside the parentheses you need to input double value. This value should be some amount of money. This value should be some amount of money. Then the format method returns the money with a $sign in a string format. This is kind of formula, so you must memorize this step and then use it. Let me show you an example for your understanding. To use number format class, you should import java.text package like this. And this code will print the amount of value by prefixing it with a $sign. So here you don't see any $sign here, but in printout you can see $sign like this. Here I set amount as $45.95. And these two lines are exactly the same as what I explained in the previous page. Currency information is automatically imported from these two lines. So when you print out money, $sign appears with the amount. See, I'll explain one more time. Number format is a class, and number format dot getCurrency instance. Then the currency information, we can get currency information from here. So this will return number format object, and this object should call format method. And the amount should be the parameter of this format method. Then we can have string data. This data has $sign. So if we print out this money, then we can have dollar is attached with the money. Can you understand? We will look one more example. In this code, I want to print the amount value by French currency. To do that, one more line was added. That line is here. If we want to print in dollars, we just need two lines, these two lines. And if you want to print in other countries' currency, then we have to add this line. So depending on the country, this line will be a little bit changed. But this time I will put France to get French currency. This is almost the same, but for this you must import this one, and then if you want to print out in dollar, this is empty. But if you want to print out in another country's currency, then this value, this current local, should be inside this parenthesis as a parameter. The other thing is the same. Then you can have the result like this as a French currency. So this is a little bit complicated and difficult, and there is no way that you can write this without memorization. So I think you need to memorize these two lines for $sign, and then additionally you need to memorize these lines for another country's currency. Get percent instance returns a percentage format. This is the same as the get currency instance uses. This makes it easy to print percent information. At first, we invoke number format dot get percent instance. Then number format object will be returned. So NF will have that. And using NF, you call format method. And here you need to input data. This should be double. Then the value will be converted to percent information, and then the percent information will be a string format. This code will automatically convert this double value into percent. Since 1 is 100%, 0.17 is 70%. To do this, we use these two lines. So at first, we have to get percent instance using number format dot get percent instance. Then this method will return number format object. Then using this NF, we call format method. Inside the format method, we should input this information. Then we can have the percent information as a return value. And then we print this out. Like the get currency instance, you should memorize this one if you want to use this code. This is an example from the textbook. This code is to calculate the final price of a purchased item using values entered by the user. At first, look at the output of the code. This is the output of the code. The code first asks for the quantity and the unit price of the purchased item. So this should be handled by scanner object. Then it computes the total amount with adding 6% tax to it. The quantity is $5 and $3.87. 5 quantity and this much price. By multiplying these two numbers, we have $19.35. This is the subtotal. Then 6% tax of this amount is calculated, and that is $1.16. And finally, the total amount is subtotal plus tax. That is $20.51. Here, this dollar sign, and this percent sign, and this dollar sign are formatted using get currency instance and get percent instance method. Now let's look at the code. Generally, text rate is constant, so text rate is declared as constant number using final keyword. Several variables are declared here. Scanner object is created to read input from the user. Scanner object here. And here two number format objects, fempty1 and fempty2. fempty1, we get fempty1 from number format.get currency instance. So using fempty1, we will print out $, and fempty2 is from number format.get % instance. So we can print out % using fempty2. Now the computer reads quantity and unit price from the user. Subtotal is quantity times unit price. Then tax is calculated by subtotal times tax rate. And finally, total cost is subtotal plus tax. In the code, the important part is here. We use format method to print out $ and %. So fempty1.format, fempty2.format like this. So here fempty1 is the object for printing out $. So here $, and $, will be printed out, and fempty2 is for printing out %. So finally we get the result like this. And this is another example, another output. So we also have the correct example with $ and %. This example shows the use of number format very well. So try to run it in Eclipse by yourself while understanding line by line. I will introduce the decimal format class. The decimal format class can be used to format a floating point value in various ways. For example, you can specify that the number should be truncated to 3 decimal places. The constructor of a decimal format takes a string that represents a pattern for the formatted number. For example, if you want to print the value of pi, you know the value of pi. Actually, pi is very long, infinite number. Using decimal format class, you can print out this pi value like this, or like this. I will show you how to use decimal format class. I want to print the pi value like this and like this. We create a decimal format object first. So here is the df is the decimal format object. And you know this is a constructor. This is a constructor of the decimal format class. In the constructor, we put the format that we want to print out the data. So this is very important. This is the format that we want to print out data. Here, if you want to print only 2 digits after the decimal point, put 2 pound sign here. This is the pound sign. So if you put 2 pound sign here, then you can print out like this. 2 numbers below the decimal point. And if you want 6 numbers here, then you put 6 pound signs here. Then a decimal format object will be created, and this object will invoke format method. So df goes here and call format method. And this is the data that we want to print out with this format. Then you can get the result like this. So please memorize this code for further coding. Let me show you one more example. Actually, a very similar example with the previous one. First, we need to import java.text decimal format. And we need to create an object of decimal format class like this. And inside this constructor, we need to put the format type here. So if we put 3 pound signs, that it means that we will print the number like this, 3 digits after the decimal point. And if we put 2 pound signs, then it will print out like this. And if I put 1 pound sign, then the output is like this. So this is very important in using decimal format. And then we use this object to call format method. So using this object and call format method, then we can have this result. This example is from the textbook. This code calculates the area and the circumference of a circle given its radius. This is the sample output here and here. The code prompts for the radius and read it. This is the radius that the user should input. Then with this number, it calculates area and circumference. Then it prints out the result like this. Both are printing out the result up to three numbers below the decimal point. So we are going to use decimal format to print out like this. Let's see the code. The code read radius using scanner object. Radius is an integer, so declared as integer. So we use nextInt method. Area is computed by pi times radius squared. You know that. So here, master pi times master POW. This is radius squared. Here I use master pi. Master pi is declared in API. So if you use master pi in the code, it gives the exact value of pi. And you know master pi method. So we have area here. And then circumference is computed by 2 times master pi times radius. For printing out, here we use decimal point format. Decimal format. So this is very important. Here I have 3 pound signs. This means that it will print out like this. 3 numbers below the decimal point. And finally, to print out, format method should be called like this. I am sure that you are familiar with system.out.print method and system.out.println methods. I will introduce system.out.printf method here. It provides a convenient way to write a formatted string. So look at this code. There are 3 double data. And if we print out these 3 data using println method, then the output will be like this. System.out.printf method allows the result to come out like this, a very formatted format. So I'll explain about this. Look at this code. There are 3 string data, S1, S2, and S3. If you print out these strings using println method, the output will look like this. System.out.printf method allows the result to come out like this. Look at this code. There are 3 long integer data here, A, B, C. And if you print out these integers using println statement, the output look like this. System.out.printf method allows the result to come out like this. I'll show you how to use printf method. Let me show you how to format string data first. There are 2 strings, S1 and S2. S1 has hello and S2 has programming. The system.out printf method also prints the contents of double quotes. So the contents in the sub double quotes will be printed out. However, if there is a part beginning with percent, like this, percent, then this means that the data outside of double quotes is put in this place. So S1 is the outside of the double quotes. So S1 will be placed here to print out. So here is the output. S1 equals is printed out. And then 15 means make spaces for 15 to print out S1. So here is the 15 spaces. And then hello is printed out like this. Likewise, S2 equals is printed out like this. And then make 5 spaces for string of S2. Then 5 spaces will be occupied, and then S2 programming is printed out. So you must remember that in printf statement there is a string double quotation, and then variables to be printed out in the place of percent. And here percent number s means a string. So if you want to print out integer, then we use d instead of s. And if we want to use a print floating point number, then we use f instead of s. We will see the example about integer and floating point number next. Let me show you how to format integer data. We have 3 integers, a, b, and c, and 3 statements, 3 printf statements. Like a string formatting, we have double quote string inside printf statement. So this should be printed out, except that this part, the percent part means that the variable after this double quote string, this case a should be placed here. And 10 means make spaces, 10 spaces for a. So if you see the result, a equals is printed out, and then the computer makes 10 spaces for a, and the value a is 100, so 100 is printed out. Likewise, b equals printed out, and make 10 spaces, and then print out b. C equals is printed out, and then make 10 spaces, and print out C. So %10d means make 10 spaces here, and then print out integer. So in the printf statement, you must have string, comma, and variable to be printed out in the % place. And here you have \n here. \n means enter. This is because printf does not have enter meaning. So as you know, print does not have enter meaning, and println has a enter, and printf also does not have enter like print. System.out printf is especially useful when printing floating point number. There are 3 double data here, x, y, and z. Printf means that printing out the string inside the double quotes. So print this string and put this value here in percent part. Floating point number formatting is a little bit more complicated than string and integer formatting. 8.3 means that make 8 spaces and print 3 decimal places below the floating point. So there are 8 spaces. and then 3, 8.3, 3 spaces for this number. And a pointer is also have one space, occupy one space. So if you see the result, x equals is printed out, and then 8 spaces is made, and then 3 numbers are printed out below the decimal point. Y is also, y equals is printed out, and 8 places, and 3 for this number. Z also printed out, and then 8 spaces are occupied for this number, and then 3 numbers are printed out like this. So printf method is very useful for printing out floating point numbers. In this section, we explained how to format the output. There are a lot of complicated contents, but they are very useful in coding, so please study them several times.